threat of a US government shutdown. We've got Italy's political crisis. How is this going to play out on the markets?
Well, I think, look, there's a lot of uncertainty in the market now. We've seen that with price action so far this morning. We've opened sharply lower, particularly the FTSE MIB index in Milan, and also Italian 10-year yields are now around about 4.7%, so they've jumped very sharply, reflecting that fear in the market. It is uncertainty, markets hate uncertainty, and the way this is going to play out, it seems like it's a very slim chance we may get an 11th hour deal tonight to prevent a full closure of US shutdown of the US government. Although it's looking very slim, and I think investors are quite worried that we may get the implications of something far bigger to come may take a significant hit on U.S. economic growth going forward. And when it comes to the Italian issue, we have this vote of confidence by the PM Enrico Letta on Wednesday, and I think investors are looking forward to that to see where we go next. It seems like they're going to try their best to work out a new coalition government, and if that doesn't happen, then it's new elections, and if it's new elections, then there's going to be a lot of worries in the market going forward.
And markets don't really want a new election, do they?
No, absolutely not. Given the fact that back in April we had such an inconclusive result, a lot of fear in the market about what was going to happen with Italy. It's the third largest bond market in the world. It is absolutely imperative for Italy to stay in the Eurozone. It's a removal of Italy from the Eurozone will essentially mean the end of the Eurozone itself. So I think the big talking point here is, are we going to see a repeat of what we saw in April, this inconclusive political paralysis which gripped the market for a couple of months until we started to see some sort of positive signs that the Italians are working together in order to form a viable government. But that's not the case. It's very fragile out there, and I think that's going to really hit sentiment going forward.
Speaking of sentiment, let's just go back to the US again. If we do have a shutdown, what could it cost the US economy?
Well, the FT this morning said somewhere around, put a figure around $8 billion per week. The sequestration cuts themselves haven't had a significant hit on the U.S. economy in the last few quarters. We knew that it's going to start creeping in towards the fourth quarter of the year if they are not able to work out a fresh budget to raise the debt ceiling. Potentially, if this goes on for the next 7 to 8 weeks, we could be looking at somewhere around the region of $40 to $50 billion. So, I mean, it's difficult to measure that at this point right now. It would be a significant hit on GDP. Right now, annualized growth is at about 2.5%. At a time when the U.S. economy there's nascent growth on board. There's tentative signs that we are growing. The last thing we want is anything that will start knocking off the growth level for the U.S. economy. And I think the market is going to be extremely worried about that. But at the same time, on a positive, you have to take on a positive spin. It is likely that the sequestration cuts are also going to mean that Ben Bernanke doesn't have to cut down quantitative easing anytime soon, and that means that liquidity junkie investors are going to continue having QE for a little longer than they expected.